This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
It's involved just 2 men, but it's shaken China's government and prompted a security alert across the country. Just 4 days ahead of the start of the Beijing Olympics, an attack in the city of Kashgar in Xinjiang province has left 16 police officers dead. The policemen were out jogging when they were ambushed by the 2 men who were armed with knives and homemade explosives. As Tony Bertley reports, it's in a part of the country where tensions have been running high for decades.
China's western region of Xinjiang, an area with more than 8 million Muslims, steeped in tradition and a rich history. But according to the Chinese authorities, separatist groups here pose the biggest threat to the Beijing Olympics. Security forces have been clamping down on so-called terrorist groups, which they claim were plotting attacks during the Games. They centre on the Uyghur Muslims, who are one of the biggest minorities in China and who are resentful of Han Chinese domination. There have been scenes of violence here for years. Recent bombings in Shanghai and on a bus in Kunming, where 3 people were killed, underline, say the Chinese government, the dangers. A group calling itself the Turkestan Islamic Party claimed responsibility for the attacks and warned of more during the Games. However, the authorities claim that this group and another faction, the East Turkestan Islamic Movement, the ETIM, have links with Al-Qaeda.
Evidence, and certainly no independent evidence, that the East Turkestan Islamic Movement is still operative today. There is even more doubts that it is linked or was linked in any way to Al-Qaeda.
The problem with verifying what the Chinese say is that there is no independent corroboration, and critics say the fears may be a smokescreen to allow the security services to quash any resistance before it starts. Since the riots in Tibet, security has dominated China's Olympic preparations. Security cameras everywhere, extra manpower on the streets, even missile batteries in the centre of Beijing. It's all aimed at reassuring the expected 500,000 Olympic tourists that China is safe.
The group in question, ATOM, does not have an infrastructure across mainland China. Its roots and its modest support base is in Xinjiang with the Uyghur people, the Islamic people who populate that region.
The security services will have to be even more vigilant. The people of Western China will probably have to endure even more checks and scrutiny, and it all adds to increased tension as the opening of the Games approaches. Tony Bertley, Al Jazeera, Beijing.
Stuck between 2 unyielding positions, the Iranian nuclear file goes back to square one. The deadline given by Western countries expired 2 days ago, and Iran is preparing to reconnect with the West through its chief negotiator, Saeed Jalili. Jalili will conduct a phone conversation with the EU foreign policy chief, Javier Solana. This conversation might not change anything from Tehran's position, which refuses to give up its right for nuclear energy. However, the call might move the negotiations toward a new phase and common ground between the 2 sides. Fahima Nazani reports.
إلى محطة ليست بجديدة وصل الملف النووي الإيراني بعد أن انتهى العرض الغربي.
The Iranian nuclear file did not reach a new phase. The offer given by the Western world powers expired, with Iran maintaining a rigid position. The options inside the Security Council are limited, and adding additional sanctions is just a temporary solution that world powers might resort to, now that diplomacy has failed in convincing the Iranian side to take the option of dialogue.
يعد مفتاح حل الأزمة على الأقل وفق المنظور الإيراني.
The pressure in this new round of negotiations is not considered a solution to the crisis, at least from an Iranian point of view. According to Tehran, any arrangement that does not balance between its offer and the Western offer will abort the dialogue. Iran's negotiations with the 5+1 group has returned to square one. Optimism during this phase will depend on the results of the bilateral talks between the chief negotiator of Iran, Saeed Jalili, and EU Foreign Policy Chief Javier Solana. Regardless of the results of these talks, the West has already incurred a failure in making a historical shift with Iran, in spite of gaining experience and patience in negotiating.
While taking a rigid position in regards to Western demands, Iran is moving forward in developing its military power. Today, Iranian media outlets relayed a message by Mohammad Ali Jafari, Commander-in-Chief of the Iranian National Guard. Jafari said that the National Guard has recently tested a naval weapon capable of destroying any ship from a distance of 300 kilometers. He said that the weapon is Iranian-made without giving additional details.
No enemy boat or ship within a radius of 300 kilometers of the Iranian border will be safe from this weapon. This new naval weapon was manufactured locally. According to the information available to us, it has never been utilized by any other country.
ومرحبا بكم من جديد. أفاد تقرير للبنك المركزي الإيراني أن 14 مليون.
According to a report by the Iranian Central Bank, there are at least 14 million people living below the poverty line.
زيادة كبيرة خلال عام.
This number shows a large increase within 1 year and equals 20% of the total population in Iran.
14 مليون شخص يعيشون تحت ضغط الفقر.
14 million people live below the poverty line in Iran, the land of oil and gas. Only a year ago, an official statement from an Iranian official estimated the poor at 9 million. The signs of poverty have become obvious in both urban and rural areas. Their predicament is exacerbated by the high inflation rate of 26%.
وهو ما يترجمه الارتفاع الواضح في أسعار المنتجات الأولية.
This is reflected in the obvious rise in the cost of basic materials. According to a report by the Iranian Central Bank, the rise in wages has not corresponded to the rate of inflation. And as is the case with many sensitive issues in Iran, there are many contradictory surveys about the rates of poverty. According to human rights organizations, the numbers are much higher than the publicized reports, and they include subgroups living in extreme poverty. According to the sparse economic details, 60% of the economic return is limited to 20 to 30% of the population. The situation could be described as an unfair distribution of opportunities. This reflects a large divide between the classes and threatens the disappearance of the middle class. The rate of poverty in Iran has multiplied within 1 year. According to many people, the military and economic machines are pouring money and equipment into areas of conflict in the world. Tehran's pyramid of power insists on continuing its nuclear program in spite of all the sanctions and economic and monetary isolation. This has made the simple citizen pay the bill for Iran's external policy.
According
to an official from the Islamic resistance of Hamas, 30 Fatah-supporting Palestinians escaped to Israel after violent clashes in Gaza. They were returned to Gaza and arrested immediately by the security forces of Hamas. According to a Palestinian rights group, clashes between the ousted Palestinian Authority's police under Hamas and one of the families supporting Fatah resulted in the death of 11 people and 103 injuries.
فضلا عن أكثر من 103 جرحى.
واصل عدد القتلى في الاشتباكات التي اندلعت بين شرطة المقاومة في غزة.
Clashes between the ousted police in Gaza and the family of Hillis resulted in the death of 9 people and the injury of dozens, including children. The Interior Ministry in Gaza announced that it was able to gain complete control and succeed in its operation in the area of the Hillis family. They had closed off the neighborhood for 3 days to carry out security procedures. Hamas confirmed that it will continue its steps towards imposing the law and obstructing attempts to stir chaos. According to Hamas, this campaign targeted people who had been involved in the explosions at the beach in Gaza.
The security campaign was targeting a pit harboring criminals, conspirators, and outlaws. We tried many times to convince this family, or part of this family, who harbored criminals and others involved with sabotage operations in Gaza to turn them over. But they rejected all kinds of mediation. We had to protect the Palestinian people and maintain the peace through this campaign, which aims at eradicating this pit, uniting the weapons, and arresting the wanted individuals.
Fatah demanded that the political arrests in the West Bank and Gaza stop, confirming its concern for the blood of Palestinians and their unity. It emphasized the importance of constructing the basis for a comprehensive Palestinian dialogue, bringing Fatah and Hamas together. Fatah also called for the halt of all procedures that complicate the matter in the Palestinian arena and called for ending the state of inner Palestinian battling.
How can we have a comprehensive national dialogue in the midst of this fighting and arrest campaigns? We issued an important statement before. The first point is taking preparatory steps to ensure the success of this dialogue, such as an end to all these negative media campaigns and an end to the arrest campaigns. We demand the purging of jails from their political prisoners.
The Palestinian factions have demanded from police forces to stop its campaign of arrests and attacks, because if this continues, the outcome will be a bloodbath in the Palestinian state. Because in the end, what had happened, only the Palestinian public will end up paying the price for. They also reiterated that there has to be other methods to deal with this issue peacefully.
These actions only deepen the Palestinian problem and cause an increase in the security measures, which will eventually affect the average Palestinian's freedom and will cause an imbalance in the political spectrum. Also, these measures will have a negative impact on the atmosphere we've created to ensure a political dialogue.
The Palestinian Street describes this development as a setback. They hope that everyone reaches a satisfactory solution for all. Whoever wins this battle will still be a big loser. For Al Madar program, Walid Abdulrahman, Abu Dhabi Television, Gaza.
It now seems that many of the Fatah activists who fled for their lives from Gaza into Israel will be spared being forced to return home again. This after the IDF reversed an earlier decision and agreed to send them to Jericho. IBA's Eli Wagalanter has more.
Most of the Fatah members who escaped from the Gaza Strip following clashes with Hamas over the weekend will be transferred to Jericho. That decision by the defense establishment this morning following 2 days of consultations. It overturned the previous decision made overnight to have them sent to Ramallah, which itself marked a reversal of the first decision to send them back to Gaza. If all this sounds confusing, it is only a reflection of a strange situation in which Israel finds itself embroiled. It began when 188 Fatah members entered Israel on Saturday, seeking refuge from the civil war taking place in Gaza. 35 men were sent back to Gaza yesterday at the request of Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. But after the 35 returned to Gaza, they were immediately arrested by Hamas. The Association for Civil Rights in Israel then petitioned the High Court of Justice, arguing that forcing the Fatah loyalists to return to the Strip could endanger their lives, and called it a serious violation of human rights and of Israeli law. Defense Minister Ehud Barak's office, meanwhile, contacted Abbas's office, and after talks throughout the night, it was decided that the men would be sent to the West Bank. Security officials stressed that the Palestinians had undergone rigorous checks by the IDF and Shin Bet security agency. Defense sources speculated that Abbas changed his initial decision for fear that it would be perceived as his Fatah movement abandoning its last foothold in Gaza and ceding the Strip to Hamas. Meanwhile, 23 Palestinians are still being treated in 2 Israeli hospitals. Eli Wogelanter, IBA News.
An Israeli human rights organization submitted a report that sick patients from Gaza receiving treatment in Israel are subjected to extortion by the internal Israeli intelligence agency, Shabak.
The organization considers this behavior immoral and against international agreements and declared that it will be submitting this report to the United Nations for it to take the necessary measures.
معبر إيرز شمال قطاع غزة.
Erez crossing point in northern Gaza is the only entrance into Israel for Gazan residents seeking treatment there. Entering through it represents a life-and-death situation for many. However, it has become a center for Israeli intelligence to manipulate and coerce the patients. According to a report by the organization Physicians for Human Rights, all patients entering through this crossing are subject to the Israeli intelligence agency, Shabak. The organization also cited cases where patients were arrested. But what is worse than this is the act of extortion and the attempts to recruit these patients to work for the intelligence agency as informers, in return for allowing them to enter into Israel for treatment. The organization cited in its report 11 testimonials, 3 of which are videotaped.
انت معك مرض سرطان بدكش تتعاون معنا بتروح بتموت في غزه وخلص قلت له هيدا ربنا كاتب لي انا اموت في غزه بموت اذا كاتب لي وين ما ربنا اللي بيحدد مش انت اللي بتحدد.
ايش رايك تتعاون معنا بابلاغنا عن ناس مقاومين بقوموا بضرب صواريخ على الجانب الاسرائيلي بس الهدف انت تتصل فيه وتقول لي موشي انا في مجموعه طلعت انا مش فيها انا بدك تضرب صواريخ بدناش تشوفهم هم بيضربوا وتخلي المكان فورا. هذه مهمته. قلت له اذا ما عملتش هيك قال لي حرجعك على قطاع غزه وخليك تعيش بقيه حياتك عاجز لانكم انتم الشعب الفلسطيني شعب بضيع الفرص.
Despite the denial by the Israeli intelligence agency, the human rights organization insisted on the truth of its report and reiterated that these measures should be considered war crimes and a violation of international agreements that reject torture.
In my opinion, these actions are a war crime, nothing more and nothing less. It's a type of torture, and I really don't want to spend time thinking about it. However, the court must force Shabak to stop these actions. Otherwise, we will go to the International Court of The Hague or the United Nations. There are ways today to fight against war crimes, and this is a war crime.
The report also points out an increase in the number of the seriously ill needing treatment in Israel since Hamas began controlling Gaza and the closure of the crossing points by Israel. The reason is due to deteriorating health conditions and the lack of medical supplies and equipment necessary for treating seriously ill patients. According to the National Palestinian League, more than 200 seriously ill individuals have died due to the siege. The end justifies the means, and all methods are legitimized against the Palestinians, according to Israel. Meanwhile, the life of a Palestinian is equal to an intelligence report. With the choice of dying from illness or dying as a traitor, the majority prefer to die from their illness. Elias Karam, Al Jazeera, West Jerusalem.
The return of Lebanese prisoners to the country from Israel has opened one of Egypt's old wounds. Undeclared political prisoners and the remains of martyrs has become a source of embarrassment rather than a source of strength. The following is a special report by my colleague, Rima Ashmawi.
Hezbollah's victory in the prisoner swap deal with Israel raised an important question, which is, how can there be real peace between Egypt and Israel while it still holds Egyptian prisoners in its jails? Samir Kuntar, the longest-held Arab prisoner in Israeli jails, posed this question, pointing out that the Egyptian prisoners are still being held there.
ربما الحديث داخل أروقة الإدارة المصرية.
Perhaps inside Egyptian political circles, there are talks about the prisoners and the remains. The Egyptian government believes that these are secrets that cannot be talked about. However, I can tell you that some officials from the Interior Ministry are trying to negotiate with Israel and other entities. They are trying as much as they can, but there have been no tangible results. Some say that these are rumors and that they may not be true. The Israeli side also denied such things. I would like to confirm that Israel has Egyptian prisoners. Sometimes there are talks about them, but we don't know their exact number. It's possible that the Israeli side is deliberately exaggerating the numbers of Egyptian prisoners held in Israel. It is also possible that the Egyptian side is giving a smaller number of prisoners for security reasons. I can tell you, for example, that some Egyptians have tried to cross the border into Israel to find jobs or to live in Israel illegally, and many other reasons. These Egyptians have been arrested and imprisoned.
Why hasn't Egypt demanded the release of its prisoners and the remains of the martyrs? Why does Cairo feel embarrassed when anyone raises this issue? What happened in the deal of releasing the Israeli spy Azam? He was released without releasing any Egyptian prisoners and without declaring that there was a prisoner swap deal.
The number of political prisoners who were killed and subjected to injustice was huge. It was a big defeat, which explains why they have not been able to negotiate at a strategic level. These are not my words, or even the words of the foreign minister. Rather, they are the words of the president. He is also the commander-in-chief, who is in charge of evaluating risks.
All the people must talk about this problem. This is my view. We must make any kind of agreement so these people can return home. Let the families identify the bodies of their relatives. This will enable them to know where the bodies are.
The Egyptian government must reach a solution with the Israeli government about the political prisoners. There should be a prisoner swap deal, just like what happened between Israel and Hezbollah. There is a shared view that Egyptian citizens are not valuable, and that must be changed.
We demand that the Egyptian widows be compensated. It is the right of the Egyptian prisoners to live in their country and between their families. Of course, we need them. They have sacrificed their lives and have spent a long time in Israeli jails. It is their right to live in their country for the rest of their life.
ملف الأسرى المصريون ملف شائك. هكذا ترى الحكومة المصرية.
The Egyptian government believes that the issue of the Egyptian prisoners is complicated. However, the Egyptian people believe that the government must talk about this issue and reach a solution, especially when considering our good normalized relations with Israel.
أسهل منه بين الأصدقاء ربما أم أن القاهرة لها حسابات أخرى.
There is one important question. Is discussing the issue of political prisoners easier between enemies than it is between friends? Perhaps this is the case. Or perhaps Cairo has its own calculations away from political prisoners or body remains, letting bygones be bygones.
في عداد المفقودين. منى عشماوي الجديد. القاهرة.
Welcome. The bicycle is turning from being a hobby into a necessity. For some, the bicycle has become a major mode of transportation. It has replaced the car, which has become too costly with the insane rise in gas prices. Pascal Boutros reports.
هذا ليس مشهداً في أوروبا أو الصين. This is not a scene from Europe or China. Rather, it is one of the streets in the capital of Beirut, and this bicyclist is a Lebanese person. The difficult economic situation, coupled with the insane rise in gas prices, led him to use the bicycle as a mode of transportation and to fulfill his needs.
There are many instances when I would be crossing through traffic and they would tell me, "Lucky you. I used to spend 50,000 liras between Monday and Friday, and then another 50,000 on Saturdays and Sunday. I made no profit from my work. The money we can save during the week is money that goes into our pockets. Riding a bicycle is nothing to be ashamed of. You look at Europe and China, you see a person wearing a tie and a suit and riding a bicycle."
Fadi is not the only one who has resorted to this modality to replace the car. Bicycling is also an excellent exercise tool, even though riding it could be dangerous on some public streets.
We get on the street early and there is always a lot of traffic. I wish they would make a special bicycle route for us or give us rides so that we feel safe. The cars don't pay attention to us, or they think that we should always be the ones to stop. The bicycle is light and a sudden break could knock a person over. We come out from the area of Duwara, we go to Yashush and Harissa, Jebel, Patroon, and sometimes even further. On one hand, we get our exercise, and on the other, we save on fuel.
أصحاب الدخل المحدود الذين لا يتحملون ارتفاع أجرة المواصلات. People with limited income who cannot afford the rising cost of transportation and those who prefer not to go against the law by riding motorcycles found the bicycle to be a practical solution to their problems. When the cost of oil burns holes in his pockets and the economic conditions weigh heavily on his shoulders, the citizen falls in the whirlwind of numbers, worry and depression. He starts the journey of searching for an alternative to take care of his business. And it seems that the most effective method today is the bicycle, which was once limited to children and boys. Pascal Boutrous, Future TV.
تقتصر على الأولاد والفتية. باسكال بطرس، أخبار المستقبل.
Hi, I'm Amy Allison. I'm an Army veteran and I work every day to give young people the truth about military recruitment and war by giving them an inside view. Today I'm here to ask for your support for Link TV and its flagship show Mosaic, World News from the Middle East. Now, why am I asking you to support Mosaic? For one simple reason. The truth. It's what I work for every day in my own activism, and it's what Mosaic shows you every day on Link TV. The true images of the horrors of war. The real report from the people who are experiencing it firsthand. For me, this unfiltered truth is what can really close the war chest in this country once and for all, and truth is in crisis. Mosaic needs your help to stay on the air for another year. So join me in supporting Mosaic by making a donation today. Just call 1-866-485-8848 and you can make a donation. You can also click on the fundraising thermometer at linktv.org and make an online donation in any amount. Mosaic was founded by the support of generous foundations, but now it's grown in ways we could never have imagined. Now 90% of its funding comes directly from you. More than ever before, Mosaic depends on you to keep it alive. They need to raise $200,000 to stay on the air for the rest of the year. The number is right there on the screen, 1-866-485-8848. Any donation, big or small, will help. I'm a big believer in the power of numbers, and I know there's thousands of Mosaic fans out there who watch to get the real story on the Middle East. So show Mosaic you value the truth by making a donation and helping them stay on the air for the rest of the year. Just go online to linktv.org and click on the thermometer to make a donation. And while you're there, you can browse through the thousands of archived episodes of Mosaic and the popular Mosaic intelligence reports. Here's the number, 1-866-485-8848. Even after 7 years, there is no other show like it anywhere else on TV. This uncensored, unsanitized view of the war is the only antidote to the usual media spin. So call 1-866-485-8848 or go online to linktv.org and help us keep Mosaic and the truth about the war alive. I thank you.
Get more news about the Middle East online at linktv.org/mosaic. The Mosaic webpage offers a complete archive of Mosaic programs, program transcripts, the Mosaic video podcast, and the Mosaic Intelligence Report, a weekly analysis of the hottest stories from the Middle East. The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible with the support of viewers like you. Thank you. This program was brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs. Programs which connect you to the world.